Well, we jump back into these 17s, Endgame, My Intentions, Kiss My Hawks. Again, their mother's a littermate to Temptation that stood there at Crossroads. The leadoff hog from the Coalition that final drives, or Leatherman sells to Beck for 5,000. We kind of went through that set and found one that we thought would be a sow, and ended up, she wasn't cheap, but we got her home, and she's done a great job for us. Dash 3 is kind of the wider belted one, or the painted up one there in the center of the ring. Another one that's got a really neat look out of the gate, not only from his head and neck standpoint, but just from how big his appendages are. He's big in terms of his front foot, he's square in terms of his chest, and still follows suit in terms of his rear leg. Maybe a little greener, maybe a little, not as juicy in terms of his muscle pattern, but I promise you, as you get to the end, this one will have everything you want and more once you ask him for it. That's why I like this sow so well, is when you ask them for it, they'll give it to you. You just got to be patient. But I think this wider belted one, or the painted up one from the side, is very neat and very special.
Yeah, and I know I said it multiple times here, but you can tell that these guys at Crestview have put a lot of emphasis on making this stuff really good built. They're dense skeleton, but they're square hocked, and they utilize their hind legs so good all the way throughout this set so far. This pig here, like Bryce said, probably not just juiced up in terms of muscle and shape, but talk about one that is elevated, stout-skulled and big-legged and built so good. Again, I think this one definitely needs to be on a short list when you talk about some barrows that are going to feed and have a high ceiling, in my opinion. That's a very neat built, big-legged, neat kind of a pig to go ahead and get feeding on, in my opinion.
And I think this is a pair, Sawyer, as you jump in and kind of look at the whole set. This pair, and there's only 4 in this litter, 3 and 4, and 2 males. These are the 2, in my personal opinion, that they come back in the summer and punch somebody in the mouth, at a later show, because these things are big in terms of their feature. They're built right from the side, and they're built for the long haul. And especially as you jump in to Dash 4 there, kind of the black-legged one, if you will. This thing is wild in terms of his pieces. So neat in terms of his head and neck. I mean, he can get that thing up there extremely far. He's still short in terms of his backside and still round in terms of his lower rib cage. His appendages and just his ankle size and his foot size are absolutely huge. Again, not juiced up and ready to rock today, but I think that this pair is extremely special. Only 2 in this litter. She's never really had just a huge litter, but everything that she gives us every single time is quality, and they sell well and perform well on the circuit. I think this pair is very, very good. Study your basics here. Study your lesson. Go back to the drawing board a little bit on what they're supposed to look like. Stout featured, good built, flexible ones, and you feed the rest, and I think you'll be happy at the end of the day.
Yeah, and I don't think there's a lot of guesswork here. Probably a little greener in terms of their muscle again, but you talk about one that is neat colored, neat looking, so big in terms of his rear leg, and just so flexible and square down low still. Again, that one should not be slept on, because that one's got big-time pieces, in my opinion.
And I don't think he'd be very comfortable to sleep on, to be honest, because he's got big legs and just not a bunch of puff today. But, man, this thing, when you prop him up from the side, he does take a really nice picture. One thing that, they can always take a nice picture at the backdrop, but they've got to have the agility at the surface. These 2 darn sure got it, in my opinion.
Yep.